Here we are in December 19. Not a lot's changed. It's snowing now. Yeah, the weather got better. All right, what do we got? Over here we have something kind of interesting, which is that Frunz has set up a little separate command. He's now in supply here with those two major cities connected. So, assuming he could get more troops, like the ones that died before, or trying to make that, he would actually be an interesting little force. Right now, he's not really able to do much of anything. He has enough to garrison the two cities, and if he moves them off, then additional units die, so that's not a great idea. And the units that did die are gone because they died due to a supply result. What do we got? Nothing exciting here. Actually, the Allied player is holding the Finnish chit. He doesn't want to play it yet because there's just too much over in Leningrad or Petrograd with Trotsky. We got Latvia trying to break out and maintain their supply, which probably means they're going to lose that city, but that's okay. We've got a number of Reds in position just in case when the Poles attack, which they can very soon, conceivably. At least there's something in the way there. But that can also help against Latvia, or it could attack the Lithuanians. In the south, we're seeing something interesting. Kirov's on the move. He's positioned himself to align somewhat with the main red line. The main red line is nice and thick, and that white line is getting inched back, especially in the south, and you can see the cracks. Of course, the Reds did kind of expose a couple of units there, which may mean that they lose that little crack that they're using. But they did pretty well here, even though they didn't exploit it at all. And Czechs are gone. We got Stalin's line forming in the north. He has failed in his surround, but he's managed to weaken that white line significantly. So now that it's winter rather than mud, we might see some serious attacks cracking through there. Not so much right in the very north where the river line is the delineation, but more along along this area. Is that okay? All right. I think I'm done with this discussion. Hey, just an interesting moment I want to capture in this turn, which is Kirov charged down and smacked the Allied command stack, which is going to put these Allied units out of command and force them to roll attrition on the isolated table, which will wipe most of them out. Use some propaganda combined with this overwhelming numbers, and once again, he is the hero of the revolution. It's a new year. Not a lot's changed. I added the counters for the reinforcements towards the end of the next year in the event chits, but these that we see. Well, first thing, I had said something about the Allies being cut off. Well, that's not the case. They can trace supply over the sea. So they were able to smack back and drive Kirov a little further back. Still not a bad thing for Kirov to have done. He caused some casualties and probably took as much, gave at least as well as he took, which is better than the rest of the line did. For the most part, the entirety of the line remained the same. There were some battles down in the south, and the lines both stabilized to a point where, yeah, the Southerners gave up some ground, but they're in a pretty good line, which is hard to attack except all across it, which is exactly what's going on through most of the rest of the line. Stalin can't get around the Siberians up here, and even though they're kind of thin, he'd have to attack across the river, and the river line extends down here, and then the white line starts getting pretty thick, where it could actually be attacked. So it's a situation where where the Reds would really have to be willing to take losses in order to go forward. Right now, their army's still beaten up. In the north, well, that guy who attempted a little attack on Archangel, he ended up lost in the woods in the winter and not happy at all because Miller was forced to retreat and was able to cover that. Just a painful situation. Over on Udinich's front, we're seeing the Latvians out of supply now, which is a problem. Uh-oh. Forgot to roll for him. The last remaining Machno unit. Yeah, he's dead, so I'll pull the Machno counters out. Event counters, new ones were added, but also the old ones went back in the pile to some extent. Like half of stables, half of partisans, not that any were used, half of the propagandas, all go back. So that's kind of, that means there's more good stuff for everybody to draw. All right, that's about it. Again, the Reds are trying to recuperate enough that they can attack the Whites across the board. The White Army is actually in pretty good shape. The Southerners are not in great shape, but they've built up a couple new units here in Rostov and have been getting resupplied through the Siberians now, which means pretty much that unless an across-the-board attack is made or an attack on the Siberians, we're just not going to see. We're not going to see any change in the field until the Allies go. Once the Allies pull out, all bets are off. So here we are at the beginning of February. Still wintertime, and we're seeing a couple of interesting things happened all at once, basically from the event chits played. So there were first mutinies, the Allied mutinies, and then they decided to pull all their troops out, all event chit things. So you see no more Allied units at all in that Black Sea region. Gotta change the numbers for the ships, but at the same time, the Allies managed to convince Poland to declare war, along with Finland. During the turn, Udinich lost his army, pretty much. That big encirclement, he got a couple units out, but those are pretty much gone forever. The line in the south, you can see the red line stretched out. That was mainly because of the Allied units. Now they can, except for bothering with those Ukrainians down here, pretty much ignore the region around Odessa. However, across the Dnieper, there's still a strong white faction, which they've been pushing back pretty heavily. And you can see it's stretched. There's no thickness to that line at all. There's no thickness really to the Siberian line at all. We've got the first use of partisans showing up back here to cut a rail line. Nothing exciting happening over on the Murmansk front. That's still pretty much a stalemate. Okay.